Rebels, what do Lululemon, Micron, and DJT have in common? Three stocks, three words. Unusual options activity. See what we saw in just a moment.
All right, here we go again. I'm with my man, Justin Nugent, who does a great job for us all the way from Honolulu, Hawaii. It's always fun to have you here, man. It just gives me like the feeling of, hey, I'm looking outside at like 2 feet of snow, and you're out there on the beaches. I'm feeling pretty good about things that you're looking at, and it makes me a little bit warmer. But anyway, let's get after this. We got a lot of fun stuff to cover, so I want to jump on it right now. How about we start off with a little macro? So from the macro perspective, and we never want to go too long on this one, but Oracle certainly hurt things a lot. A lot of people were concerned about AI and blah, blah, blah. And but by the way, CPI comes out. It's pretty cool. And Micron absolutely crushes it. So I think that's why the markets are moving the way they are today. And the markets are going up, 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 up.
Completely agree. Yeah, Oracle's downside dealt damage to basically every data center in the room yesterday, like a sort of stock market spatial rend. And the whole time I was saying, these are hit pieces. They're not changing anything in the story at all. Blackstone stepping in to fund them. They didn't even agree with the OpenAI hit piece. So I thought that was a bunch of crap. I told people to buy the dip. And now here we have this CPI coming in way lower than expected. So totally agree. Honestly, I think Santa Claus is here.
You know what? We get these huge swings. We get all these things that are going on. And I talk about the volatility index, and people will say to me, because they don't really fully understand it. And they'll say, hey, shouldn't the VIX be up to 20 by now? Look at what's happening in the markets. Look at it yesterday and all the rest of it. And it's like, hey, bro, just so you know, we are at a level now where the numbers look big. We can be down 400 or 500 points on the Dow. We can be down 300 points on the NASDAQ. And that feels kind of crappy. I'm the first to admit it. But that being said, what is the percentage? That's what you've got to look at. And when the VIX is sitting at a 16, 17, which is where it is, that is exactly how tight things really have been. When you're looking at that, you just say, well, all right, so basically the VIX is telling us it's a little more than 1%. Bingo, bango, that's exactly what we're doing. We're moving about 1% here and there. And if you really look at the S&P, which is what it's measuring, that's very, very accurate. So, and it doesn't always have to be perfectly accurate, but it certainly is what the markets are. So 16, 17, that's what the VIX is doing right now.
Yeah, I was asked a very, very similar question. I actually thought of you, and I love the way that you explain it in terms of average percent move over the course of the next month. Are we really going to see more or less than 1%? I think 1% is probably spot on. And so the VIX is probably spot on. I think people get confused because they see what's going on in something like Bitcoin, which would be my fantastic future, like yesterday, where, hey, Bitcoin's ripping 3.5% at the open of the day. Oh, great. It's liquidating $103 million of longs or something to that effect. And then it's dropping 5% in the next 1 hour period. And it's liquidating another 53, or it was liquidating shorts in the initial part. And now it's liquidating $53 million of longs. Crazy, crazy activity. But is that really permeating to the SPY? Probably not. The VIX is probably dead on.
What do you think of these predictive markets? And John's sort of moving this into where we are. I mean, we like to hit VIX every day, just because I think it is important. I mean, the two things I look at when I start the day, the 10-year and the VIX, and then I start moving around outside of that. But that's where it really starts each and every time we come. How about these predictive markets? Are you liking that? Do you like what's happening there and what they're bringing, the poly markets?
Yes. So I know. So John sent along this really cool image of a prediction market, largest company end of 2025. I think it's cool. Sometimes you can actually find better and more compelling offers here than in certain options markets, right? It really just depends on what you're betting on and exactly what you're, what you're risking. They're definitely really reactive. I do think that they're great. They're another tool. And I will also note there's something that Vlad said from Robinhood yesterday that I thought was really compelling, that certain prediction markets, homeowners and people who need insurance are actually finding out that prediction markets can be a cheaper form of disaster insurance, which sounds really crazy, than actual disaster insurance. For instance, will a hurricane hit such and such place within such and such time? Yeah. You could buy disaster insurance, sure. You could also go and pick up some, yes contracts at a cheap price on a Poly Market or a Robinhood or a Kalshi. It's
Yeah.
really interesting, and it's probably going to shake up the world in a pretty big way.
I agree totally. And it's kind of cool. I mean, you can create things the way that you're able to do that. All right, let's just jump into these four stocks that we always like to hit on this. How about Trump Media? Now, this is up 32, 33, 34%, something like that. It's an all-stock merger, $6 billion market cap value is what we're talking about here. And they're talking about fusion energy companies coming together, smaller, faster reactors, all of that as the pieces of this puzzle come together. But it's had a pretty nice spike to the upside. The one thing that I always like to mention about any time we see something like this where a couple of companies are coming together, how about the investment banking side? Oh, by the way, it happens to be Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs has had one hell of a year, and they continue to just crush it. And I think this is just another example of that. They were a part of the investment banking of what's going on here. It seems like it's occurring at a pretty rapid pace, and it's going to potentially break out for 2026. I like what we're seeing here. What do you think of DJT?
I think it's really, really interesting to see a social media company that is also, I think, a DAT merge with a fusion power company. I think it's like if you saw Snapchat merge with Oklo, but also BMNR. It's so weird and cool. I love it. And the thing that I love the most about it is two parts. Number one, exactly what you said about Goldman Sachs. I actually love Goldman. They're up 54% year to date. It's not the stock we're talking about, so I won't spend time on it, but I think they could still go. And second of all, I love the UOA that we saw in it. I know Jared probably has this one queued up. We had this in 3 at 3. They were buying the 11 strike calls. I believe for January 16th, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the stock was trading around 1050 or so. And obviously now those calls are smoking. I think that we, at least in 3 at 3, got those calls for something like 61 cents. And I believe we closed them up today for, I think, 360 or something to that effect, which
Not
is
so bad.
just not so bad at all. That is great. So, hell yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great job. And I'll tell you what, it is interesting to see how things are shifting around. And by the way, we talked about Micron right at the very top of macro. Why did we say that? Well, because everybody's talking about AI, right? How bad things are, this, that, and the other. Hey, it's a bust, it's a boom, it's all these things. How about when the CEO of Micron says, you know what, we're sold out. By the way, I used to be the specialist in this stock on the options floor on the Chicago Board Options Exchange. And I'll tell you, it was a monster then. It continues to be a monster. There's plenty of different unusual option activity that comes into this name on a pretty frequent basis. It's only up, 14, 15, 16%, something like that. It's had a heck of a day. It's up 150 some odd percent for the year. I would say it's very near the all-time high. It's not that far away, but it's sniffing near there anyway, pretty close. Their revenue, it was up 57% year over year on the increase there. How about that? Strong demand. That's unbelievable. And the cash flow, you look at that and you start saying to yourself, well, hold on now. The year before it was 3.24 billion. Now it's 8.41 billion. I would say that the operations cash flow is doing pretty well for Micron. And I think that they gave the entire market a pretty big boost because of the fact that they didn't, as they say, poop in the bed. They actually delivered. There you go.
I'm a child. Okay. All right. We had Micron in Rebel Roundup Pro. I love anytime we get earnings UOA in a stock the same day that the earnings come out. You know that I like that. It was super fun. We actually traded this really deep in the money. We traded the 200 strike calls. The reason for that is because the IV was relatively high. Got out of 2/3 of that position right at the open for right about a double. We're holding on to one more of those just to see if we can get a little bit more upside potential. And I completely agree with you personally. I think that Micron is probably more important to the market than the CPI today. Honestly, it really did rescue this really just, in my view, false narrative that, oh, semiconductors are done. Oh, the AI sector is in a bubble. Oh, it's done. It's oversaturated. Blah, blah, blah. Look at the numbers. It's exactly what you said. They're racing higher.
Yeah, absolutely. Really strong. How about Lululemon? One of my all-time favorite stocks. I have not been involved a lot of late, except for the fact that we have had some unusual on there. But it was one of those names that it kind of has fallen a little bit by the wayside. A lot of competition out there. They're expanding internationally. That's great. But they've had an issue with the CEO. And now they've got somebody that looks like they're going to line up a CEO for them. And that's the activist. That's Elliott Management, who has a pretty decent stake. They came in with $1 billion. They're talking about what CEO they would like to bring to the table. By the way, Lululemon, after getting kicked around, and it still does a great job in a lot of different ways, they got a PE of 16. Now, I don't know if people really pay enough attention to something like that, but that alone is reason to say, well, let's kick the tires on this thing and see what they're doing and see how things are going. But, year to date, yeah, it's down 42%. So not so great. But when you look at the last, month or so, I think it's up something close to like 34%. So it's had a pretty nice run over the last. There you go. Take a look at that. I mean, let's just call it 160 to 220. It's a pretty nice rise from them. And I think Elliott is doing a good job. They're an activist. They like to be involved, and it looks like they're big time involved because I think they want to place the CEO.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think a couple things. Number one, we saw UOA in this as well. It worked great. You saw the chart. You know what's up, right? It was another one where we saw earnings, UOA right before the earnings. It kept going. And Pete's exactly right. Honestly, anytime you see Elliott is involved with a stock, it's going to pop immediately upon that news. But then it's going to hang out for a while, and you'd be surprised how often you see follow through. To you rebels at home, if you're looking for a simple way to trade it, I mean, it's Elliott involved stocks. They really do care about the shareholder very, very much. The only other thing I want to say is that you talked about the low PE. Completely agree. A lot of these consumer discretionary names, growth names, and etc. have crazy low PEs right now. Someone asked me about the bubble thesis, and I wrote a pretty big report on it the other day, noting that in the .com bubble, the NASDAQ was trading at a 200x PE. Top stocks were trading at a 276 PE on average. Microsoft, Cisco, Intel, Oracle, etc. Right now, you've got names like Google trading around a 30. You've got names like LULU trading around a 16. It is foolish to make a comparison. They are very different. So great call out on LULU.
All right, next up, we got one that you and I probably aren't all that familiar with, but we've gotten familiar with it because of what they're doing. The stock is up 75% today, Sable Offshore. Now, these guys are absolutely ripping to the upside. The symbol is SOC. The stock ranged 350 or 370 to 35 bucks. I mean, that is one hell of a 52-week range, right? So the stock today is somewhere up towards $9, $9.25, something close to that. And pipelines, we're talking about, the offshore federal waters, and that's what we're focused on here with this particular company. And obviously, they need that to be something that's actually working, right? Well, it looks like they're going to get restarting on these offshore and onshore operations. That's going to be very, very interesting to see how this path goes. Now, TD Cowen is out there, and they have talked about this when they were saying that buying this right now makes sense. So they've got a buy rating on it. They've got a price target of 29. Now, if you go back a minute ago, I said this stock is trading just above 9. That is a big jump to get all the way up to 29, but they're the ones that are making that call. And it probably makes some sense because significant cash flows in 2026 is what people are expecting. So if this thing is basically turned back on, I think this stock is not done with the move that it's made today. I think there's still plenty of room to the upside.
Yeah, SOC, energy stocks. A lot of people are looking at energy. How about Netflix, though? I'm going to take the baton and run to something that I know a little bit more about, because it sounds like you know a lot more about SOC than I do, although I do love the thesis. And I'm going to steal this one real quick and say that Netflix just made a deal with Barstool Sports, which I think is pretty big and probably riding underneath a lot of people's noses. I believe that Netflix is going to take now Pardon My Take, which is Barstool's podcast, the top 20 podcast. Netflix also has their deal with Warner Bros. Right now. They are just snatching up every piece of entertainment they can, while those monopoly rules are nice and lax, and while regulations are nice and low. And meanwhile, Netflix is down something like 22% over the past 6 months. I am not long it yet, but I'm looking at it personally.
I think that makes sense, man. These guys at Barstool have done an absolutely magnificent job over the last 4 or 5 years, and incredible. And everybody knows Dave Portnoy and all the rest of all these different things or whatever. And this has been a really, really interesting time for media itself. And these guys have really done a great job of taking care of their side of things. There's no doubt about it. All right, I got a couple of sports things for you. I know you love that, so we're going to jump into this whole thing, right? So we talk about this whole thing about the CFP, right? The college football playoffs. Now, this really starts to kick off tomorrow. Oklahoma and Alabama, two big monster franchise universities that are going to be going after it. So I think that makes it kind of fun. By the way, Bama did get beat by Oklahoma 23-21. Did they get run out of the gym? No, they didn't get run out. That was a really close game, and it was really a lot of fun. Bama absolutely should have won it in terms of the numbers, because when you look at the numbers, the problem was the turnovers. There were 3 turnovers in the game, 2 fumbles and an interception, and that's the reason they lost by 2 points. They should have lost by 20 points when you do something like that, but they didn't, because their quarterback, Ty Simpson, who's virtually kind of one of these guys who's damn near right up there with the Heisman-type quarterbacks that are out there. Ty Simpson threw for 326 yards, but he also got sacked 4 times. And, of course, he's the guy who threw the interception that they had. So Bama lost to Florida State in week 1. Bama lost to Oklahoma in week 10. Bama beat Georgia in week 4, but lost to Georgia at the SEC championship and got blown out. I'm going to say this. I'll go out on a limb. I don't know what the spread is, but I think that Bama might run Oklahoma off the field. And I have all the respect in the world for Oklahoma and what they do each and every year, and they've done it for the last 50 or 60 years. They're a damn good football program. But the way Bama played, if they don't have the same kind of mistakes and if they can protect the quarterback, which I think are 2 things they can do, this might be a game where Bama runs them off the field. So it could be a lot of fun. It's a Friday night game, which is tomorrow night, man. Are you going to be tuned in? All right. Tell me you're going to watch a football game for me, man.
I'll record myself watching the game. But Pete, I'll do that. You should, even if it's just $5, you should take that bet. Here's why. Oklahoma is actually the slight favorite, so you would be rooting for the underdogs. Betting line would be Oklahoma minus 1.5. They're also expecting a low total of 40.5 points, meaning that they expect a really tight defensive matchup.
Yeah.
If you're going to root for the underdog, maybe there's good money to be made. But I will tell you what, I promise I will be watching that right after our nice Friday end of a holiday lead up week here.
We're not that far away from Christmas. All right, next sport, we're going to hit the NFL real quick. It's fun. I know that one you probably watch a little bit closer. Seattle and the Rams are going to be in battle tonight. Thursday night football should be great. They're both 11-3. They're 2 great football franchises right now, having a great year. Good quarterback play. All that is a lot of fun. But Saturday, we have the Packers and the Bears. Now, that's one of the great rivalries in all of professional football, right? I mean, Green Bay is just north of Chicago, vice versa. You've got the Bears. The Bears are at home. The Bears have a 10-4 and a quarterback. 10-4 is their record. Packers are 9-4-1. They got 1 tie. But the Packers don't have Micah Parsons. Their offensive line has been chewed apart, and they are basically just hanging on. They got a heck of a quarterback. They've done a great job with Jordan Love. Caleb Williams is a quarterback for the Bears who, after last year, you would have said, you know what, this guy is a bust. Well, he's really turned into a hell of a quarterback. I give a lot of credit to the coach that was brought down from Detroit that took over. Last year, just this one stat is amazing. Last year, Caleb Williams was sacked 68 times, which is a huge number. He has 3 games left. So far this year, he's been sacked 23 times. So Caleb Williams, the offensive line, they did everything right in Chicago. They've got a quarterback. They've helped him by getting a tight end. You always can use the tight ends on the offensive side of things. Good offensive line play. And the defense has been good, and it keeps getting a little bit better every week. I think that's going to be the game of the week. I think the Saturday game with the Packers and the Bears, it's an old rivalry. I think that's the best game of the NFL this coming weekend.
Yeah, it looks like the Bears are going to try to avenge their 28-21 loss against Green Bay here. I didn't know that Micah Parsons was out, but I did know that that's the guy that we had talked about before with the crazy wide neck. I
Yeah.
remember talking to you about that guy. So it's not surprising that the injury was not to his upper body, it was to his ACL. I hope that he makes a full recovery. And when he does, I bet he's going to come out very, very strong for them. But yeah, I mean, who did you say you have in Bears Packers?
I didn't say I don't think, but I'm going to say the Bears. I think the Bears are. I think if everybody was healthy, I think Green Bay actually has the advantage, except for the fact they're on the road. But they're not very healthy, and their offensive line's beat up. And the quarterback is going to have to really outduel Caleb Williams, and Jordan Love can do that, but it's going to be a big hill to climb because I think the Bears are just clicking. I mean, they're playing as good a football, Chicago Bear football. And by the way, John and I talked about this the other day. He might be the first real quarterback with the Chicago Bears in the last 40 or 50 years. I mean, they have not had a quarterback that everybody's like scared of. This guy's pretty damn. Caleb Williams is a special guy. I didn't like him really much in college. He did a lot of things that I was not very fond of. But I'll tell you what, as a pro, he has stepped up to the plate, and this guy's one of the better quarterbacks in the league right now.
Wow. Incredibly interesting. I'll be watching that one as well.
All right. Looking forward to it, man. Well, thank you very much for filling in. I know that it was sort of last minute and all, but John's banging around somewhere. He's flying from Puerto Rico to God knows where. I mean, he could be in New York. He could be in Chicago. He could be in Miami. I don't know where he is, but he's somewhere in flight right now as we speak. So we'll see. Thank you so much, Justin. Really appreciate that. Have a great rest of your weekend. And don't forget, there's football games tonight. We got to get another one on Friday. We got some more on Saturday. And then, of course, Sunday is just nothing but NFL. So I know you're looking forward to that, Justin.
I promise you I will watch that game tomorrow. And anytime you want to have me on, of course, always. I love it.
Appreciate it, man. You have a great weekend. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern time.